Thousands of years ago, the land of Israel faced an existential threat that standard military tactics couldn't solve. A giant warrior named Goliath stood as the face of this threat. He was the embodiment of battlefield supremacy, defined by his massive height and immense physical strength. This comparison shows the disparity David's people were facing. Goliath's height and the sheer density of his heavy armor created a physical barrier that made him appear invincible to any conventional attack. He was the absolute peak of physical power, presenting a problem that seemed to have no logical solution. This overwhelming dominance had an immediate psychological effect on the Israelite army. When an opponent appears physically unbeatable, fear becomes collective. The soldiers were paralyzed, unable to imagine a scenario where they could actually win. This created a desperate dilemma. How do you confront a challenge that the physical world says is literally insurmountable? The focus shifted away from the terrified soldiers when a young shepherd boy named David arrived at the camp. By every traditional military metric, he was useless. He was small, young, and wore no armor at all. The soldiers mocked him. To them, it was absurd that a boy with nothing but a sling and a few stones would even attempt to stand before a giant. David represented a complete rejection of how power was supposed to work on a battlefield. David wasn't relying on physical attributes. His strategy was built on a single, unwavering conviction that God was with him. Before stepping onto the field, he didn't prepare by practicing with a sword. Instead, he prayed, asking God for the strength and courage to do the impossible. His true weapon was an internal framework of faith. This spiritual grounding made Goliath's physical advantages seem small and irrelevant. The moment of confrontation arrived as the heavily armored Goliath closed the distance, looming over the unarmored boy. David didn't hesitate. He took a single stone from his bag and placed it in his sling. While the motion was physical, the conviction behind it was spiritual. David acted with certainty that his faith was the real force propelling the action. The stone struck Goliath on the forehead, finding the one spot his armor didn't cover. The giant fell face first to the ground. It was a definitive failure of conventional defense. Goliath's physical might was useless against a strike he never saw coming. The atmosphere in the valley shifted instantly. The paralyzing fear was replaced by amazement as the soldiers realized the giant had actually been defeated. This diagram highlights why the outcome was so unexpected. A standard clash of physical force against physical force would have favored Goliath. But David succeeded because he operated on the path of spiritual trust, a variable the giant's armor wasn't designed to stop. David won because he placed his total trust in God. In that moment, Goliath's massive size was exposed as an illusion of power. David proved that physical dominance is secondary when it is confronted by absolute faith. This story teaches us that true strength is not found in armor or physical stature, but in spiritual trust. For David, faith turned an impossible challenge into a victory, showing that when we trust in God, even the most insurmountable obstacles can be overcome.